everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another episode of my Create This Book series. And once again I am going to be doing 3 pages in my Create This Book 3. Today's pages were kind of complicated, to be honest, but before I started recording I went ahead and I added the extra printer paper onto the pages just so I wouldn't have to do it again. I can just go straight into the actual art for the 3 pages. The first page I'm going to be doing today is the Create Resistance page. And then for the second page I'm going to be doing the Create an I Spy page. And then the third page that I will be doing today is the Create a Straw Painting page. Starting off with the Create Resistance page, it tells you to draw something heavy on top of something light. And I decided to go very, literal with this. And I decided to draw a very heavy weight on top of some clouds. To be honest, I'm not really sure if clouds weigh anything. I was just assuming they don't, but I don't really know the scientific answer to that. I started first by sketching out my idea in pencil, and then with a fine liner, I kind of went over my sketch and kind of sealed in my design. And for this drawing, I decided to use 2 different mediums. I decided to use alcohol markers to paint in the actual weight, and then I used watercolor paint to do everything else. I wanted to differentiate the 2 parts, the heavy thing and the light thing, and so I used the alcohol markers, which is a lot darker and bolder, for the heavy weights, and then I used the watercolor for the clouds and the sky. I thought it would be a good way to kind of differentiate the 2 and separate them. And honestly, I had a lot of fun with the watercolor this time around. The more that I've been using it, the more I enjoy it, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite paints to use. And I don't ever really use it outside of just these Create This Book series. And it kind of makes me sad, but it also makes me want to do more of these pages. I wanted to try to do a blended blue sky with 3 different shades of blue. But I kind of made the sections too big and kind of only really did 2 sections of blue. A very darker blue at the top and then a slightly lighter blue at the bottom. And honestly, you can't tell the main difference in the colors that much. But while I was painting it, it felt like a big deal. And this is how the page turned out. I did put my initials and the date at the top of the page once it had dried. But moving on to the second page for today, the Create an I Spy page. This page was extremely difficult for me. It was telling you to hide different items in a chaotic scene, and then obviously make the search page of all the things you have to search. I've never really used or really seen spying pages or I spying pages or like Where's Waldo kind of thing. And I didn't really know what to draw for this page. And so I kind of just decided to draw random characters and random things all over the page. And kind of as I went, I just hid different items here and there, which, since you're watching me draw them. It's not really a mystery as to where they are, but I still try to hide things in different places. And kind of when I stopped focusing to do the prompt exactly as it is written and kind of do it in my own way, I started to enjoy this page a lot more. And it honestly reminded me a lot of when I was back in school, when I would finish my work and I would spend a lot of time doodling and drawing in my sketchbook. And it was just something I haven't really gotten to do in a long time, and so I actually ended up enjoying it a lot more. And once I finished with sketching out my design, I again went over it with the fine liners. And then this time I'm actually going to be using colored pencils for the color part of the page. I decided to only color in the actual image and not the little items in the searched box. It kind of felt like that would make it a lot easier if you could just look through the colors, since, to be honest, I didn't really fill this page up as much as I could have. And again, colored pencils aren't really a medium of art I use very often. I personally don't really enjoy using colored pencils as much. I much prefer paint over pencils. But I did really want to try using them and kind of going outside of my comfort zone and using different materials, which is honestly one of the main reasons I do create this book, so I can use it as like an art exercise to use different materials that I normally wouldn't use. I'm always trying to practice and improve my art, even if it's very slightly and very slowly. I think it's important to always be practicing and trying to gain knowledge and experience. And create this book is just an easy way to do that without feeling too pressured to make things that are good every single time. But anyway, this is how the page turned out. I did put a sealant on top of the pages just so that the pencil wouldn't bleed. Moving on to the last page, it's very simple. It just says to paint with a straw, and I took it very literally. I took only one straw and I used only that one straw to try to paint. And when I was doing this, I could only think of two ideas, either painting a landscape or like abstract art. And so that's exactly what I tried doing. On the right side, I tried painting like a landscape, a sky, some grass, a red tree. And then on the left side, I tried to do some like abstract art. This was very difficult and very messy because I was only using the one straw, and I was using very old acrylic paints, so it was very like chunky and drying out almost. I do feel like there are some parts in the left side of the page that did kind of turn out nicely, but overall it kind of just looks like a huge mess. And since the paint was so thick in a lot of areas, it was really hard to dry and seal, so I ended up putting some plastic over it. That way it just wouldn't stick to each other and it would just not create a big mess when I close the book. But this is how the 3 pages turned out. Honestly, these 3 pages were some of the most difficult for me to complete, but overall I did enjoy all 3 of them, and I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I really hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching.